Hello katawanto, kia kamlo Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific, Mikoroy Hawkins. Coming up,
they've blocked off the road, put tires, logs, and set fire to some of the tires.
Relatives of a slain police officer in Papua New Guinea blocked the Highlands Highway. Also,
it wasn't more than $4 or $5 back in January, so it's really a monumental increase.
Egg shortages in the Northern Marianas driving up prices, and a PNG academic says there's no chance the government can achieve its aim of getting all citizens a national ID card. The family of a Papua New Guinea police constable killed in an ambush have blocked a section of the Highlands Highway in Goroka, Eastern Highlands Province, demanding justice for his death. Constable Harry Gorano succumbed to his injuries in intensive care 2 weeks ago after spending 3 weeks in a coma. He was attacked alongside colleagues in the Southern Highlands in January, during which fellow officer, Constable Noel Biape, was fatally shot. Our correspondent Scott Wide spoke with Lydia Lewis earlier from Goroka.
Very early this morning, a group of people, a fairly large crowd, went to a section of the Highlands Highway. This is just past Goroka town, going towards Simbu, and not too far out of Goroka town, but they've blocked off the road, put tires, logs, and set fire to some of the tires. They've also prevented buses from moving in between. They are looking for anybody that they can vent their anger at. So it's basically in protest over the government's inaction at having those killers off their relative, Harry Gorano, a constable in the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary who died in intensive care 2 weeks ago.
In your latest story, you've got 2 other constables that were gunned down. Is this a new incident?
Yeah, this one happened in January. There were 2 officers who were attacked. One is Constable Noel Biape. Noel Biape was shot and killed, and Harry Gorano was attacked later. He was chopped with bush knives, and he ended up in intensive care. He spent 3 weeks in intensive care in a coma and died 2 weeks ago.
Have you spoken to any relatives, or what is the feeling in the community?
Yeah, I've spoken briefly to a relative of Noel Biape, and Constable Noel Biape's father is also a serving member of the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary. Now, he's taken a very, he doesn't want to speak to the media. He said that he will prefer to have the commissioner himself speak on issues that relate to his son, who was a serving member of the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary. There hasn't been really a strong response from the government. I mean, the statement that came from the Southern Highlands Governor, William Poe, came several weeks later. The police minister's statement just condemned the killing. And there was also another statement by the Prime Minister, but several days later. So that has been very frustrating for both relatives of Constable Biape and now Gorano, and relatives here in Goroka have taken upon themselves to block the road and then demand action from the government.
What action do you see needs to happen to be able to, stop or, I guess, dampen down anger and frustrations?
The fact that there are attacks on members of the police is very worrying for the community. And generally in the country, because if you note the previous feature I wrote, I counted at least 20 officers who have been killed in the line of duty. A large portion of that number were killed in the Upper Highlands. In 2017, we had the highest number of officers killed, 4 in a space of a few months. So yeah, it's an ongoing issue. A lot of the killers still roam free, and that's one of the frustrations that the relatives have expressed.
I understand there are limited police in the Highlands anyway. There are calls from the public for a greater policing presence. So for police officers to be killed in so many that you've counted would be a massive loss for the communities.
It is a massive loss for communities. I mean, just for the constabulary in general, that is a huge number. I mean, 4 killed in 1 year in 2017. And then just in January, 2 killed in one hit. That is a huge concern for the community, for the constabulary in general, and for the country. I mean, people are struggling to deal with the fact that policemen and women are being targeted and shot at, not using homemade weapons, but using high-powered weapons that have been smuggled into the highlands.
What needs to happen for real change to happen, Scott?
Firstly, and this is not from me, it's from a collection of people, including the Deputy Prime Minister and including members of parliament who are from Enga. Firstly, there has to be arrests made by the police. That has to be done so that confidence is restored in the justice system. That's the first thing. Now, they have to be processed through the justice system so that we get the convictions, and the convictions have to be very visible so that they are put away with hefty sentences. So that is what is needed. And a lot of Papua New Guineans are demanding that, police should arrest these people with guns. And if they're arrested, they should be prosecuted and given large sentences. So that's basically what many people are asking for. And that's what the frustration is with people in Goroka right now. And that's why they've blocked off the road.
Scott Wide says UN-sponsored arms proliferation talks have been set down for next month. The Northern Mariana Islands are facing an egg shortage due to the spread of bird flu in the United States, sending businesses and the community into panic. According to data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the cost of eggs has skyrocketed across the U.S. mainland, with the average price of the breakfast staple rising to $8 per dozen. But in the U.S. Commonwealth and the Pacific, it's being hit much harder, with reports that when the new shipment of eggs comes in next week, it will cost $12 a dozen, effectively $1 per egg. I spoke earlier with our correspondent Mark Rapago in Saipan and began by asking him how bad the shortage was.
Well, what can I say? It's a very exhausting situation we're having here. It has come to the point that several restaurants had to take off eggs in their menu. There's even one restaurant who had to charge $1 per egg for the side dishes that used to be part of the package. And it's not going to get any better. The H1N1 influenza or bird flu is still ravaging the U.S. poultry farms, and there's still a shortage of eggs. I heard that one of the top wholesalers will be getting their supply next week. But lo and behold, it's going to be $1 per egg, or effectively $12 per dozen. And it's not uncommon to see restaurants here, stores here selling it at $16 per dozen, or probably even $17. And I know it wasn't more than $4 or $5 back in January, so it's really a monumental increase, and it's really changing the diet, breakfast diets of our people here in the CNMI. I know it's a first world problem, but take one of your staples for breakfast, and you're gonna have craziness going.
Yes, and I like what you did with an exhausting exhausting problem for you at the start of that answer. In terms of the domestic supply of eggs, is there a silver lining here in terms of opportunity for local farmers?
There are local egg farmers here, but it's not as productive as importing them. There are a few egg farmers here, and actually my wife got 3 from somebody who raises hens, and they gave eggs, but it's not to the amount that the consumers here in the CNMR would have. And it costs like probably 50% more than the previous price of imported eggs. So yeah, there's a niche for eggs here, but it's still in its infancy. And I read a message on Facebook or social media the other day of an egg farmer saying it's not as easy as people think. You have to buy feeds, you have to buy certain medicine for the hens to be healthy, and you have to clean every day, and you have to have a wide farm or place for them to roam around to become healthy and lay perfectly good eggs. So it's not in a place where it can domestic eggs or locally it can supply the demands of the local egg eating market.
I'm assuming that the CNMI is bird flu free, and that some of these sanctions on imports are what's causing the supply problem. What's the current situation, and where are you getting your eggs from?
We're getting our eggs from California right now, but there's, as I said, there's been a short supply because a lot of egg farmers in the States have actually called their hens because of their H1N1 or bird flu. So sourcing is very hard, and if we get a new supply, it will be gone in a few hours or something, and it's gonna be pricey.
Is there any other markets other than the US that you might be able to, or you're hearing maybe that they're looking at?
Well, I heard that the U.S. is actually trying to import from Turkey, of all places. These are not turkey eggs, okay? Just chicken eggs from Turkey. And
Nice one. You're just on the money today, man.
uh, so I'm not sure the veracity of that report, but you get it where you can get it. So if it's from Turkey, the chicken eggs, then Turkey it is. I don't know how many of those eggs will trickle down to the CNMI, but it could be a good time to learn how to domestically raise hens so you could have fresh eggs every time.
Is there a similar situation with chicken meat, or is poultry chicken meat unaffected?
Curiously, it's not. That's one of the producers, one of the restaurant owners said. If there's a bird flu virus, then why isn't poultry affected? So it's not. It's isolated to eggs. I think it's those who are affected by the bird flu.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for your time. I hope you are able to get cheaper eggs soon, and I will definitely be appreciating my eggs when I have them for breakfast here in New Zealand.
Yes, appreciate it while you can. Okay, man. Thanks.
Thank you, Tomas. The Papua New Guinea government wants to have everyone on their national identity card system by the country's 50th anniversary celebrations on the 16th of September this year. While the government has been struggling to set up the NID program for more than 10 years, in January the Prime Minister James Marape announced they aim to have 100% of Papua New Guineans signed up by the 16th of September. However, an academic with the University of PNG, working in conjunction with the Australian National University, Andrew Anton Mako, says there's no chance the government can achieve this goal. Anton Mako spoke with Don Wiseman.
The NID, National ID program, was established in November of 2014, so it's 10 years now. I wouldn't know the mechanics of the delay and why it has taken this long for the project to not deliver on the outcomes. What I can say is that a lot of money has been invested into the program. So by the end of this year, the national government would have spent about 500 million kina. That's a lot of money to be spent on a particular project, and then it would have only registered about 30 to 40% of the total population. So there's a serious issue there. The project has failed to deliver.
Come back to that in a moment, but why does the government think that a national ID card is so important?
It has got some usefulness towards it. If it was well established and well implemented, it would address a number of issues. For example, on doing business and form of identity that will help people to do business, to apply for jobs in Papua New Guinea or elsewhere and all that. But I believe it has got merit towards it, but I think it just that it has not been implemented properly.
Does the population like the idea?
I think generally when it started, I believe people were on board, but then when it got delayed and all that, so for 10 years now, I think you would see a lot of people venting their frustration on the NID's Facebook page. So I think popularity has actually fallen over the years.
It's money that could go into a whole lot of other, perhaps more important things.
Exactly. There's pressing issues of the country in terms of law and order, health and education. Those important sectors have actually fallen over the years. So that 500 million would have been better spent.
So now the government wants everyone, the entire country, within this system by the 16th of September, and they're not going to get anywhere near it. And they must have realised they wouldn't get anywhere near it when the Prime Minister made that statement. surely.
It's not possible. The numbers do not add up. They've spent more than 460 million over the last 10 years or so, and they've only registered 36% of the total 3.3 million people. And then of the 3.3 million people, they've only issued an ID card to about 30 to 40% of.
30 to 40% of those who have already signed up. So it's what, 10% of the country?
Yeah, that's right. About only 1.2 million people have been issued an ID cards, including a duplicate card. So it is not possible to register the entire country, the rest of the country, in just 6 months, 7 months, 8 months.
It's not the first time that the government has come out with what it effectively is like a wish list without fully backing it financially and so on.
Yeah, that's right. The ambitions that the government, the Prime Minister have done, their intentions are good, but the figures, there is no effective strategy how to get there, right, and the resources that are needed to be allocated. I think it's just not possible to realize the outcomes, the end results. For example, the Prime Minister and his government promised that by this year we would stop importing rice, but that was a promise that was made in 2019. So the thing is that the government has not clearly laid out a plan as to how the country will realize that outcome by this year. So that's the thing, right? If you are going to promise something, then you have to deliver on it. You have to deliver on the ambitions. Then you have to set up a proper game plan and proper indicators and things like that. So I think that's the issue that I have. Promise something, but you must deliver, but you must chart out a proper pathway to deliver that.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, Tofa Suifua.